They better keep the camera on Samantha. Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the October 7th, 2025 Post Falls City Council meeting. I do want to apologize. We had a workshop that was scheduled. It was canceled. The internal memo we received said it was canceled, but the actual agenda itself was not changed. And so I know we had one citizen show up. So again, I apologize for the oversight. Shannon, please note all council members are present. Under ceremonies, announcements, and appointments, I just want to make one announcement. We've talked about it several times, but we are in the process of updating our comprehensive plan. The last plan started in 2015 and probably took 5 years to be implemented. And the reason I mention this is because we keep hearing from people in all different areas, apartments, and they don't want apartments. Well, one of the things that I talked about some time ago is in this area, which is a smart code zone downtown, what I consider downtown. Apartments are allowed to have more, they have more of an ability to be built in a smart code because there are concessions that need to be made. So when I asked staff about trying to eliminate the smart code, they said it had to be done through the comprehensive plan. So now's the opportunity. So if people weigh in or have concerns, please weigh in. We have had 2 public meetings, which provided opportunity for input. There was also an online opportunity for input. Council then receives the preliminary information. Then internally, staff was going through a fiscal impact analysis. During the Post Falls days, staff took polls and mini polls of attendees at the Post Falls days. And in July and August, the city hosted online community surveys. I mention that because we continue to solicit input, and I would ask, there's the opportunity for you to go to the city's website. And Shelley,
You can sign up for our notification system, and you're allowed to check box what you would like to receive notifications on. So there is a range of different things you can receive notifications on, and one is public meetings.
So I would encourage people to do that because, again, this is your opportunity to let your feelings be known. I would not supposed to act on behalf of everybody up here, but I think we probably are all of the same mind that, 10 years ago when this was put together, we probably needed some apartments. Now I don't think we do. I think we've probably seen a plethora of apartments. So again, make your feelings known, especially on smart code. It needs to be changed through the comprehensive plan. This would be the opportunity to do it. So again, sign up for that so you receive notifications and you can be part of the input.
And Bob is saying postfalls2045.org also is a place for folks to sign up for comprehensive plan information. Specifically.
2045.com? Yes. So again,
.org.
.org, thank you. So please do it. Council is the one that makes a decision on comprehensive plan, and I think that information provided to council would help assure that comprehensive plan is reflective. So I would ask everybody to please participate in that. Are there any amendments to the agenda tonight?
There is one amendment to the agenda. We don't need the third subsection F executive session for.
Okay. Do we need a motion to that effect?
Nope, no motion for that effect. To just strike that one off when whoever makes the motion for the executive session. Okay.
I'll see if I remember.
Any declarations of conflicts? Would you please present the consent calendar?
Item A is minutes from the September 16th, 2025 City Council meeting. Item B is payables, September 4th through September 30th, 2025. Item C is surplus of City Hall items. Item D is fiscal year 2025 audit engagement letter. Item E is Linger annexation reason decision file number ANNX-24-11. And item F is Painted Rock reason decision file number ANNX-25-3.
Any questions on the consent?
I have questions about the surplus
Go ahead.
items of City Hall. What happens to those? There's a number of tech items, desktop, 21 office chairs. It's a big list.
Good evening, Council. John Beecham, Public Works Director. Most of these items we will send to auction.
Okay.
And we communicated with the auction house. they think we'll get a good price of some sort for everything but standard file cabinets.
Those are, there's a lot
They're
of those.
apparently,
running
they're
around.
not worth much.
Okay.
Something about dinosaurs?
And that money will just go into the general fund to be used however we want?
What we have in this memo is that it will go into the facilities fund
Okay.
to go toward future projects.
Perfect, thanks.
Is that your one, Samantha?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's great.
thank you. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Davis,
Yes.
Flu,
Aye.
Westland,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Stiglater,
Aye.
Motion passes with 5 ayes and a yes. We do have 2 public hearings tonight. The first is the O'Brien vacation, file number VAC-25-1, and with that, I will open the public hearing. Let me preface this. I'm sorry, anybody who wishes to speak on either of the 2 public hearings, there are forms in the back. Please sign up and turn them in to Shannon, and we'll let you comment during the public comment section.
Good evening, Mayor Jacobson, Council President Malloy, and rest of City Council. My name is Justin Souter, and I will be presenting the O'Brien vacation, file number VAC-25-1. So Eric O'Brien is both the applicant and the property owner, and he's requesting the vacation of a 10-foot utility easement that runs along the westerly property line of his property at 1501 East Tammy Drive, so he can construct an addition to his home. Here is 1501 East Tammy Drive, and here in the hatched area, you can see the 10-foot easement. There are no utilities currently within the easement, and Avista has provided a letter confirming the easement will not be utilized for any future utilities. Staff reviewed the proposal and has no concerns with the vacation, and no other properties would be affected by this vacation. Here are a list of the agencies that were notified of the project, and we received comments back from the Phillips 66 pipeline. They also don't have any utilities within the property, and we also received a comment letter from the Post Falls Highway District, and they just had no comments. Here it is one more time so you can see it, and that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions, and the property owner is here as well.
Any questions of Justin at this point?
Why does the easement exist in the first place?
I think it was on the original plat. Rob might be able to speak a little bit more to that. Wants to come up?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Robert Paulus, city engineer. So in the original plat, there was a utility easement, and back in the 1970s, when these plats went in, it was not uncommon for all sides of a parcel of land to have a utility easement on it. We have a number of parcels around the community where there is nothing in those easements. Nowadays, we do not, and the utility companies do not prefer to put their utilities in backyards because you get fences and it gets difficult to replace or do maintenance work on it. In this area, we think it was just an easement that was put in and never utilized. There was also a emergency stormwater easement in that area for overflow of stormwater. We had the storm system checked prior to this coming before you, and the overflow portion of that area is not needed, nor has the area been built in a way that would ever allow for stormwater to go in that area. The stormwater system works, we did have it checked, and it is satisfactory.
Okay, are there easements on all these other properties in the picture then? If they
There
were
is an
all-
easement that runs north-south along that entire line, yes.
See, okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions of Justin at this point? Does the applicant wish to speak? Pretty straightforward. Okay. With that, I'm sure you're not going to rebut anything because there were no questions asked other than what Councilor Stiglater asked, and I think that was answered.
we have no public comment.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Just anxious, I guess. Anyone wishing to speak?
We have none.
Good. Now I'll close the public hearing. Thanks for keeping me honest. Council, how would you like to act?
I would move to approve the O'Brien vacation file number VAC-25-1.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. Roll call, please.
Flu,
Aye.
Westland,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Stiglater,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Enthusiastic.
Well, he's aye this time, so. The next item up tonight is second public hearing, Warrenfield ICDBG update. Open the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Robbie Quinn, Parks Planner, here to present an update on the Warrenfield Community Development Block Grant. And while this is a public hearing, there is no action needed. It is simply a requirement of our public participation plan to provide additional notification to the public of any updates during our grant project. And those could be anywhere from budget, scope, project location, or the beneficiaries. Fortunately, on this project, we didn't have any changes to any of those, so I will just be providing an update for you. So quick background, April 2024, we applied for the Community Development Block Grant, and we were awarded those funds August 2024 for $325,000. And the scope of that included road frontage improvements at Warren on 2nd Avenue and Idaho Street, including curb, gutter, stormwater, sidewalks, pedestrian lighting, street lighting, ADA access, and landscape and irrigation improvements. May 6th, we awarded the contract. The contract to begin work June 2nd, and the substantial completion was July 18th. So about 7-week project, and they were about a week and a half ahead of schedule. So I'll just kind of run through a few pictures of the project. So this is obviously a before picture looking north on Idaho Street, and an after picture here. So as I mentioned, curbing, gutter along the road. We provided the back-in angle parking, sidewalk, pedestrian lights, and the ADA approaches here. We were able to retain 4 of the large oaks, 1 on each end and then 2 in the middle, by just way of how we designed the parking with a few bump outs. And then because of where the stormwater swales had to go, we did lose 6 trees, and due to the type of trees we put back in, we put 4 larger trees back in that place. And photo looking at the intersection of Idaho and 2nd, and then an after photo here. Again, utilizing some of the bump outs, our 2 crossings. We're able to relocate our park sign, added a traffic light, and again, the pedestrian lights. And then lastly, along a photo looking east on 2nd Avenue. And additional parking down on this end. So this is where we had our access into the park for our more intensive use amenities at the park. And so this is where the ADA parking went with our ADA ramp. And then that continues and enters in the park kind of behind me in this photo. And on this street, because we didn't need stormwater along the whole stretch, we were able to retain a majority of these mature trees and provided an extra wide planting buffer because they were mature and to lessen the impacts on those root zones.
That's still back in parking.
Correct.
That car did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
A review of the costs associated with the project. So as I mentioned, our grant was for $325,000. 20 of that went to design, 305 was for construction, and the city contributed $80,000. Looking at our actual costs, we ended up going over slightly on both construction and design, a little under $4,000 on the design, and a little over $7,300 on the construction, and for a total of about 2.8% net increase in the total project budget. Are there any questions so far
I'd like
on
to
the
follow
grant
up on the
aspect?
parking question,
Sure.
if I can.
Yeah.
Does that work? I mean, I understand the fact that it's believed to be safer, and I understand the logic behind it. But in the spots where we see it, we have it in town, I bet I don't see 25% of the cars parked using it properly.
Yeah.
And is that something we're just going to continue to try to make people aware of? Or is that just kind of, are we spinning our wheels?
I'm probably not the person to be answering that question.
But he's pushing it to Ron. I'll try answering it. So you're right. It's a long education process, but we are seeing more and more people do it. For quite a few years, you're going to have a mixture. And it's not that we're going to tell people to go switch their car around before they can have, play soccer or football. But I think as we start to educate, we talk at the coaches' clinics and the parent clinics explaining on some of these fields, and we get the signage, it should help.
Okay.
But as you and I know, all of us know, not everybody reads signs.
Hope I didn't steal your thunder, but that's kind
No,
of the same thing.
I think we talked about it when we first designed
Yeah.
it, and I was
It's-
confused
Yeah.
back in part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
know
reality is, if it doesn't work, it doesn't change anything. People will park the other way, but I think around a play field, the fact that the doors prevent the kids from
Right.
going,
I like that.
it's worth a try.
Okay.
The best we can do.
Okay, sounds good.
What's interesting is you see the photos and the unimproved photo, most of those cars are backed in.
Yeah.
But then when it's improved, they don't. So it's
I
kind of,
like to comment your before is an after, and I've said it before, but that was a weed field when we
Yeah.
lived down there.
Yeah.
Our son is now 42, and he wasn't born yet, and we started picking rocks out of that field with the neighborhood down there.
Yeah, we've had,
Don't
there are a
make it a
few
field.
neighbors that came out during the project and would tell us similar stories who had
Bob
lived there
Templin
for
was
40 years.
Bob Templin was the impetus behind that to get that Earl Warren to donate that field. So it's to see it come to this level of development is outstanding.
Yeah, thank you.
So, any other questions of Robbie?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you can shed a little bit more light on why we went over budget specifically. I understand the categories, but.
Sure, so the one change order for construction kind of encompassed a lot of, it was such a short project that we were able to just reduce everything into one change order, but it encompassed quite a few different changes. There was additional trenching depth requirement from Avista on our electrical. We ended up having to trench a little further on that electrical from where we were originally going to stop. There was a change in the Ziply, or I don't know if it was Ziply, I guess the fiber box. So we had the utility company come out. They had to move the box. They ended up installing it too high, and it's very difficult to get them out there to make changes. So we had to essentially add a double curb in that area. There's slightly more asphalt and base needed as they were demoing. And then there was one change in the ADA to make the grades compliant. We had to essentially add more base rock and adjust some of those grades. And then there was actually a deduct in some of the landscaping. So all of those combined were a result of the nearly $10,000 cost increase for construction. And then as far as design goes, the majority of that cost was just grant requirements anticipated, or that weren't anticipated for our consultant. Essentially they have to do a certain amount of interviews for every single contractor to make sure they're meeting the wages required in the grants, and those aren't always easy, and to get every single contractor, they have to be out there for a lot of time.
Like how we use Panhandle something for.
Area
the
council.
water
Area
council.
Okay. And then you had what, a 3% contingency for this? So
I can't remember what it was.
you didn't go over your contingency.
It was 30,000 something, whatever. It's probably was 5%.
5%. Okay, and it all comes out of the Parks Fund is where this money came from?
So the grant, the 325,000 was
I mean the
obviously
overage.
the overage. So because our construction contract was actually under the 305, there's about 3,000 there, and the rest of that came out of the parks construction budget, which I was going to follow up kind of on my next slide.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
But
Sorry.
not the budget wise, but project wise.
Gotcha.
So those were where the funds, the overage is covered.
Thank you.
So so that's kind of the grant portion of the project, and because we were out there doing that grant, had that funding, council also approved some park improvements to the site. So we're impacting the site one time, 1 year, and don't have to come back for a while. So those improvements included a new playground, new shelter, and sports court. And so I just want to share some photos of that progress as well. And these were taken about a week and a half ago, and since then we're essentially wrapped up with the project. So this is a photo looking at the playground, so new swing, and this is the 2 to 5 year old, the 5 to 12-year-old playground. We did keep the same footprint, just upgraded the playground equipment inside of that. And then just kind of a closer look at that larger playground. And then right behind it is the smaller 2 to 5 year old playground within, so this would be our ADA ramp into the playground itself. And then behind me, taking this photo, is the new shelter. So this is roughly 3 times the size of the existing shelter that was out there. And then we do have a drinking fountain that has since been installed right at this location where you can see the pipe coming out of the ground. And then lastly, looking at the new pickleball on the north side. And so, as I mentioned, when I took these photos, this is about as far as we were with sod. The sod has since been complete. All the plantings have been installed, all the bark has been installed, and they're just kind of final touch-ups the rest of the week. And we have the fence coming down on Friday. So it'll finally be open to the soccer players this weekend.
Question on parking again.
Yes.
Parking on the north side of that has been for the neighbors. You go down there in the evenings, nothing going on in the park. You've got boats, you've got trailers, you've got campers, you have cars. Do you think these improvements is going to help eliminate that, or do you think that problem will persist, and how do we intend to address it if it does?
I'm going to call on Dave on that one.
Yeah, he's getting ready to retire, so he can say what he wants.
Now, what did I say about signs? The problem's not going to go away with the overflow from the apartments that are there, some of the other housing, the fact that you have contractors living there that bring equipment home. The difference is the parking's more efficient. So, you know, if you don't mark it, people park a little wider angles. By getting it in, we've added more space. Once again, we'll try to work with the offenders, but it's, as long as they're moving their vehicles, it's a public road. So we have to work around that. And we did add on the east side more parking. So there's a lot more parking than there used to be.
Hopefully, as you say, it'll be well signed so people get the idea it's for the park.
Yeah, and we'll monitor it. It's one of the discussion points that we're looking at right now is all of our parks are being impacted by people parking there. And we're probably going to have to go back to the no overnight parking and work with that. But that's then puts a burden on the PD on that enforcement. So it's kind of have to pick and choose. But definitely, you know, a trailer that's been sitting there for a week, those things we can address just like we do every other parking lot. So, and if you have a magic sign, I'm open to it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I think one of the other main aspects of that is we control where the curb line is now, and so keeping some of these vehicles in the trailers away from the root zone of those trees is a big impact of this project.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wishing to testify?
We have none.
Close the public hearing. Council, how'd you like that?
Do we need a motion?
We don't need a motion, do we?
Motion.
So we don't need to.
Can I just say thanks to the Parks Department for trying to save those trees and not just like bulldozing them over and being really conscious of that? I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was definitely a goal on this project for sure.
Yeah.
It's nicer to save them than have to replace them in it. Next item up is unfinished business. We have none tonight, followed by new business. First item is a Prairie Trail extension, Zorros Road to State Highway 41, work change directive number 1. Mr. Paulus.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, Robert Paulus, City Engineer. Tonight, staff is asking for your approval of work change directive number 1 for the Prairie Trail extension between Zorros Road and State Highway 41 in our contract with Northwest Landworks. The cost of the change order is $27,901.50. The funding for that would come out of the impact fees from multimodal projects. Apologize, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for you. There really wasn't anything at the time I put all this together to show you for good pictures. The project is pretty close to being done. The trail has been paved. They're now putting in the gravel shoulders and starting to get rocks cleaned up so that they can finalize and get the rest of the topsoil in and then hydro seed and hopefully get that done end of this week or early next week. The reason for this change order is as we were going through the project, there was a excess of fill material that needed to be gotten rid of, approximately 3,000 cubic yards. When the contractor identified that there was excess material beyond what we had designed and planned to get the slopes the way we wanted, the question came up, how do we get rid of it? Our consultant did a drone flight to reconfirm how much material was in there as excess, and there was two different options on how to get rid of it. One would be to stockpile it and then haul it off. The cost of that was around $23.31 a cubic yard, which is around 65,000 some dollars to get rid of. Or the other option was to find locations where we could adjust the grades on site, rework the material, and then bury it on site, and that would be at $12 a cubic yard. The total cost for that comes out to be $35,520 of extra work. However, we do have a contingency amount in there, but not enough to cover all of this. So what we're asking from City Council is $27,901.50. That will allow us to utilize a third of the contingency amount and cover this cost, and that still leaves about $15,000 in contingency for anything that might be off a little bit in quantities from base rock, topsoil, asphalt that was put down. We don't have the final numbers on that. So again, city staff is requesting approval of this work change directive number 1 for $27,901.50, which will cover the placing the excess material on site and leaving a 10% contingency. Any questions?
Questions, Rob?
So you don't want to use the contingency that has already been granted, and then the extra that you would need over, you want some of the contingency left alone and then to have additional funds approved.
So the reason for the extra funding and keeping some in contingency is what I don't want to be in a position of is to get the exact dollar amount I need tonight and then have to come back in another 2 weeks and say, hey, they found that they needed another 1,000 cubic yards of topsoil, and there was some other item which we hadn't seen properly in the plans that we need to fix, and now I need another $2,051 or something like that.
Yeah, and maybe we've done this before and it's just never been explained in a way that I've picked it up, so pardon me. But I think maybe a year ago it was asked how often we utilize all of our contingency. And I think that we were supposed to get that number at some point. So I guess my concern in not using the contingency and just leaving it there and getting extras that data, if we wanted to look at how often we utilize all of the contingency that we have for a project, it almost looks like we're not using our contingency, but we're still spending the money.
So
Sense?
the way you're looking at that question and the way I would look at answering that
Yeah.
is when I would go through and provide you data as to how often do we utilize all of our contingency, this one would show that we're utilizing all of our contingency and that we had to ask for additional.
Okay.
And that's something which, at least from the engineering division, we don't have happen very often.
Okay.
He's just putting
That
a
makes sense.
contingency on his contingency.
Well, if they don't use it, they don't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in retrospect, I could almost say that if we would have looked at the engineer's estimate and taken what they had for the contingency amount in there, the 15% of the engineer's estimate, I wouldn't even be here before you this evening. We had a very good bid, dropped the contingency amount down based off of what the bid was, and,
here you are.
a gamble that did not work in my favor tonight.
Gotcha. My other question is, how much is in that impact fee fund, the multimodal? I know we want to spend $27,000 out of it, but how much is
So
there?
the last time I took a look at it, we were getting close to $1 million in the multimodal impact fee fund.
Okay.
We have utilized a portion of it towards the Prairie Trail that was built between Zorros Road and Prairie Avenue.
Okay.
This portion completed that. We are anticipating spending a small portion of that towards our share on the Prairie Trail underpass that the Post Falls Highway District is putting in. And then within the last month, we approved about $150,000 to be spent on the Ross Point Centennial Trail Extension. And there was also about 30,000 that was spent.
So the utilization of this will not impact any of the other planned projects for the moment?
No, no,
Okay,
it
thank you so
won't.
much.
We're well underneath what the impact fees we're anticipating for the cost of this project.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, Rob?
I do, yeah. If we have a situation with excess dirt like this, is there any possibility of us calling a landscaping company or other developers doing work in the city to say, hey, there's free dirt if you come take it yourself?
That usually doesn't get a very good result as to moving that material in a quick. This is one of those things where when it came about and needing to move it, if it was going to take a month or two to get that stuff moved because you said, hey, I got free dirt, we would have gotten into a position where we would not have been able to pave the trail in time. And granted, we did get it paved because we wanted to get it done before it got too cold.
Right. Well, apparently people steal dirt from other people's properties, so it's worth exploring.
Get a lot of pickups up there with people shoveling dirt.
Big hole down the road.
Any other questions, Rob?
A dumb question, where did all the extra fill come from?
When we put the plan together, we did what typically would have been several months' worth of design services and condensed it down into about a month's time frame. So the way I look at it is the estimate was off. You know, some additional material might have shown up, we're not positive, but for the most part, it was what they had calculated and anticipated for how much fluff is in that material. They were off by 3,000 yards, or about 10%. So out of 30,000, we ended up with 3,000 more, so about 33,000 instead of 30,000 yards of material.
So this is dirt that we paid for, and now we're having paid to
Who
remove?
made the estimate?
Welsh Comer and Associates.
Are they helping us haul it off?
What was that?
Are they gonna help us haul it off?
Well, they're not going to help us out with that, and we're burying the material on site.
Yeah, but are they contributing anything to the disposition of the excess material that they overestimated?
No.
Under.
Why not?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that question for you, Mr. Malloy. Normally, if there's excess of materials, it is a material that would have needed to have been moved, and we would adjust quantities, and we would either handle that through the contingency amount or a change order that we'd have to come back to you if it was greater than what's covered. That's why we normally have contingencies.
Is a 10% overestimate on fill common?
We did not see that 10% was it was in the realms of the contract where the contractor has the ability to renegotiate prices on it. But a 10%, plus or minus 10% on a quantity is something that we normally are not surprised by.
3,000 yards just seems like a lot. But I know it's a big project.
And
30,000
30,000 yards is quite a bit of material too.
Yeah.
How much did we pay for? Did we pay for 30 or did we pay for 33?
The original project was based off of 30,000 cubic yards of material.
And that's how much we physically paid for? Like, we actually paid for that much?
We paid to move 30,000 we paid to pick up, move, sift and get good material into where we needed the good material, and then get the bad material into other locations. And there was even some material that we did have to haul off of the site because it was so bad. There was a few TVs and things found in that hole when they were pulling it apart.
But only for the 30,000, not 33,000.
30,000 was what the bid was based off of, and 33,000 is what we're ending up with for fill material. The estimate was that there would be 30,000 cubic yards of material that needed to be moved.
Uh-huh.
And as they were moving it, they found out that, no, there's 33,000 that needed to be moved. So we're paying for that extra 3,000 that still had to be.
Thank you so much. So we paid for 33,000.
That is what we're paying for, yes.
Okay.
With this approval.
Yes.
Any other questions? Comments?
Well, I think it's lucky that we have so much in our impact fee.
Just to continue the dumb line of questioning. So was the fill, was all the material there to start with, or did we haul in 33,000?
They didn't haul in any fill at all. It was reworking all the material on site
Got
to
it.
fill
Thank
in
you.
the hole that was there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion?
I would move to approve the Prairie Trail Extension Zorros Road to State Highway 41 Work Change Directive number 1.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Stigleiter,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Flu,
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, Rob. Next item up is Transportation Master Plan, Contract Amendment number 3.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Staff is requesting a contract amendment 3 for the Transportation Master Plan to be approved. It will incur an additional cost of $27,782, and that would come from street impact fees. To date, we're about 2.5 years into the Transportation Master Plan. And late in 2024, city staff discovered a problem with some of the regional model data that was in the Highway 41 corridor. Basically, when job placement had been put into that corridor as to what the projections were for future jobs, in the regional model, there was a number of transportation analysis zones, or basically census block areas that had very little jobs in them. And what we're seeing for growth in there was not indicative of what the model had. So we needed to have our consultant and the modeler subconsultant go back in and put more jobs into the Transportation Master Plan model. That also required the consultant to go, as well as staff, to work with the Kootenai Metropolitan Planning Organization and make adjustments to the regional model. The regional model adjustments were made based upon what the city of Post Falls was adjusting. A few jobs were taken from other portions of the county, but for the most part, because growth has been so robust over the past few years, the model was behind on the total number of jobs, and they were able to put most of those excess jobs into the future in the Highway 41 corridor. The work over the past year and few months in doing all of that would account for $27,782, which is the requested amount for this contract amendment number 3. Stand for any questions that you might have.
Questions, Rob?
These are the analysis zones that we kind of renegotiated with KMPO about placing jobs to align with what we saw, right?
That is correct, and that's what KMPO saw and was given a presentation to about 2 months ago.
Right, okay, yeah.
So I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
The original management reserve that's referenced in your letter, how much was that for, and how much have we gone over that at this point?
Oh, the contract reserve,
Well, it says management reserve line item to address future changes, and that it was increased in February and in June.
the contract reserve, I can tell you what it covered. I can't tell you the full amount.
Okay.
But the contract reserve was utilized to cover some cost changes over the 2.5 years that we were into it. And then about $6,000 of it, which was amendment number 2, went towards providing greater public participation at the Post Falls Festival.
Can I think of this like a contingency?
What was that?
Can I think of this fund, this management reserve, like a contingency fund?
That is correct.
Okay, so we've utilized our contingency fund twice now, and then potentially a third time?
Yes.
Okay. What happens if we say no?
The work's already been done, and then we'll have to go back to the consultant.
Okay.
we got into a position where we were working on solving the problem between staff, KMPO, and the consultant. And we didn't realize where we were at on the budget hours that were getting used up on it. But it was work that, one, it did need to get done because otherwise we would have been very much underestimating future traffic demands on State Highway 41. The other item is this work has a very large benefit. We're in the scoping process right now for doing a sewer analysis on the Highway 41 corridor. And these numbers are going to be very instrumental in getting that work done correctly to make sure that what was done several years ago and what was called the Northeast Quadrant study, that we're properly anticipating sewer flows from that same region along Highway 41. There were a couple of other areas out towards the western part of Post Falls that were also included in those job placements, but a bulk of the work where we saw problems was along Highway 41.
I definitely appreciate the work that your team does, and I don't mean to insinuate that I feel like it was unnecessary. I do think that it is kind of puts us in a difficult position to be forced to essentially approve work that was already done. That is the third escalation of a contingency fund. And then my other question is, in your report it references meeting with KPO and utilizing KPO, and it sounds like these numbers will be beneficial to them as well. Presumably they funded their own research project and their own thing that was done incorrectly, so perhaps
KMPO
I'm not done with my, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. That they would be willing to help fund part of this, since these are numbers that will be beneficial to them as well.
So KMPO had a regionally adopted model. That model had been built with the assistance of the city of Post Falls in providing where job placement was, where population growth was going to be, and so that was developed several years ago. And this was more of, we went in, we found that the numbers did not work, and part of it is the way the KMPO model is set up is the city is given so much population to put in certain zones, and then the KMPO model will automatically populate areas based upon what the underlying land uses are. So in the transition, we were missing this change from what has been historically more agriculture or unutilized land to now becoming, we have a hospital coming in and we have a number of gas stations and fast food restaurants. So this was an item that KMPO is getting close and is going through a master plan update of their own, but we were ahead of them in noticing that there was a problem, or that the old projections from 5 years ago were no longer accurate, and we needed something more accurate for looking at 2045.
Did we know that their numbers wouldn't be accurate since they were older when we went into this project?
No,
No.
because everything we had agreed and accepted the 2035 model projections back when they had done their numbers. It had been worked with staff. Staff looked and said, yes, we're going to be having a population of about 90,000 by 2035. It looked good. The placements had been good. The jobs across the entire region looked good, but we did not catch that the distribution in the Highway 41 corridor was where we really wanted it to be looking at it today.
Other questions, comments?
Yeah, I know you're well aware of this, but it's appreciated if we could have this stuff before us, before the money is spent, before the job's done. Because then it just looks like we're up here rubber stamping everything and don't really have any opportunity to represent the public. I know you know that.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the Transportation Master Plan Contract Amendment number 3.
Second.
Motion seconds, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Malloy.
Aye.
Stigleiter.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Flu.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Ziegler.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, Rob. Next up, acceptance county deed to Centennial Trail property.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Field Harrington, City Attorney. I'm filling in for Chris. This is a relatively simple matter. We've discussed it with council previously in executive session. What this is the county has deeded us the property for the Prairie Trail from our existing trail all the way out to McGuire. It's about a half-mile section. They did that with no strings attached as requested. And it also helps us sort of solve some of our, our end of it, the first about 200 feet, we actually own property right on the north side and on the south side because that's where our outfall for the wastewater goes. So staff recommends approval. Any questions?
Questions, Field?
I did have a question, Field, and I'm so sorry. I wanted to grab some of the verbiage out of what you put in the agenda, and I can't find it fast enough. But was there, I think, in like the risk kind of that you talk about in the agenda report, it's going to be on us to fix anything that's in that half mile and like keep it up, obviously, from now until forever. So is the county offer, I mean, we've just offloaded them half a mile of responsibility from their budget to take care of anything. So are they offering to like fix something first so that we don't take on a error?
Well,
or anything?
we are taking on a sort of fully functioning trail.
Okay, so
at
there's
this
no
point.
problems that we know of existing?
There's no problems
Okay.
existing that we know
Okay.
of, but we will be responsible for sort of the ongoing maintenance, and it really is just an extension of, it's just going a half mile further. And as you may recall, the county was initially trying to get us to take all of it, all the way up.
Okay, so that's what I couldn't remember the specifics
This
of that
is-
conversation.
This is just the portion that is immediately adjacent to city limits.
And
so
we're not taking
we're
on a
not going-
pre-existing condition that we will have to then,
Not that I'm aware of.
okay, all right, thanks.
Any other questions? Council?
I'd move to accept county deed to the Centennial Trail property.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Stigleader.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Blue.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Ziegler.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item up tonight is citizens' issues. And this section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the council regarding city-related issues that are not on the agenda. If anyone wishes to speak, come forward, give your name, and we've got a clock, so you have time. Please.
Mayor, council members, my name is Bela Kovacs. I'm the Kootenai County Assessor. I am coming before the council this evening, not as a citizen, but as a public official, to make a comment and to bring a matter to your attention. As the assessor, my mission and my mandate is to ensure fair and equitable property assessments, to carry out the mission and mandate of the statutes and the Constitution. More specifically, Article 7, Section 5 of the Idaho Constitution provides that all taxes shall be uniform upon the same class of subjects. Idaho Code, Section 63-208 provides that the actual and functional use shall be a major consideration in determining the market value for assessment purposes. I'd like to bring, as I said, this matter to your attention, which I believe the council probably is aware of in some ways. But before I do that, I'd like to give you a little background. This is a matter involving a large big box retailer on the extreme west side of the county, a big box retailer of sporting goods. Each year, the property owner appeals their assessed value. They appeal it to the Board of County Commissioners as the Board of Equalization. The Board of Equalization reviews the appeal and has upheld our values. It's a stiff battle to prove that the assessments are wrong, and they fail in doing that. After that, the property owner then can appeal to the State Board of Tax Appeals. That hasn't happened. In this case, the property owner has leapfrogged into filing a lawsuit in district court. So for starting in the year 2019, this is the process that has ensued, and it's gone to lawsuit. And as a consequence of that, when I have not been given, since I've been in office, an appropriation for attorney fees to pay for an attorney. It's not my attorney personally, the attorney to represent the county assessor. These lawsuits name not only the assessor, but they also name the Board of County Commissioners in the lawsuit. And so we have gone to work to try and defend the values in those lawsuits, especially since the Board of County Commissioners have upheld the values. The first step in the lawsuits is the judge orders mediation. And when you don't have funding to fight the lawsuit, in the court-ordered mediation, you generally settle. The total value of the settlements has reached about $260,000 in taxable, in property taxes that have not been raised. That's the amount of taxes that haven't been collected as a result of the stipulated value that's been settled upon. This year, and out of the since 2019, there are seven lawsuits. They've all been settled except for 3. There's 3 currently pending. This year, as my team was preparing to go to mediation, they discovered a matter of record, which I'd like to bring, is the issue that I'd like to bring to your attention. In 2012, there was an agreement that was signed by then Mayor of the city, Mayor Clay Larkin. It also brought about the deeded warranty transfer of a property. The property we're talking about is the southern parking lot of this big box retailer. It's 4.11 acres. That occurred in 2012. It transferred the property from the ownership of that retailer to the city of Post Falls. The question then is, what is the quid pro quo? What's the benefit to the city? There's taxes that would not be collected. This information is essentially buried in the public record. I have no answer for why my staff has not discovered this issue dating back to 2012, which was 9 years before I became the assessor. But we discovered it this year. And so I'm not here to tell the city what to do, but I'm just simply bringing this matter to the city council's attention. That value, that's about $87,000 if you add up the property taxes that have not been collected for each of those years from 2012 to the present.
Could you wrap up, please, your time?
Adding that up, it's a total of about $350,000 in taxes. So looking forward, we're going to be taking a look at assessing this. We're going to make sure that when we assess the value, that it will not be exempt, because in Idaho state law, government-owned property is exempt. So that's all I wanted to bring to your attention at this point.
I've got some questions.
Sure.
So you show up in citizens' comments representing the county. Why didn't you go through the normal process if you had an issue with something at the city, and go through the normal process of setting up a meeting with city staff, so city staff could work with you on this, so we could put it on the agenda as an agenda item, because you're not here under citizens' comments, you're under city business that should have been addressed through the council agenda.
Well, I don't work for the city, so if that's the city process, I'm not aware of the city
Well,
process.
You're very aware of the process with Kootenai County, and that's going to be the same. So that's number one. Number two, you're talking about making sure that the city pays taxes on property and that it's not exempt. The city owns a property, and I recall the discussion. I was not mayor, but at the time, it was set aside for a future park and ride for CityLink. CityLink did have a route out in that area, and they were going to use that as a future park and ride. That has not happened, but that is still set aside. We hope to get another, if CityLink survives and expands, we would hope to have another park and ride out in that area. So then, if that's the case and the city owns it, it would be exempt. And I'm concerned as to how you can, as an assessor, decide that property owned by the city, which does not pay property tax, is now taxable.
So we have a legal opinion where there are other instances like this that have occurred. And based upon Idaho state law, it's not me, it's state law. And it's state law that says we take into consideration the actual functional use of the property.
Which is vacant.
Excuse me?
Which is vacant.
Well,
It is landlocked, it is vacant.
It is, you can drive out there any day and you can see that it's essentially a parking lot.
And it's vacant, and it's
Yeah.
not used by the city.
Well-
Let me ask you another question.
And the other thing, the ride and share program, that is a program that's available to, and many other locations are throughout the county. I used to participate
Sure.
in that when I worked in Spokane County. You don't need to have the city own the lot in order for that to happen.
That goes back to the discussion held between Cabela's and the former mayor and staff. Let me ask you another question. So you say that you assess the property, the Board of County Commissioners upholds your assessment, you then go to Cabela's, tell them what they owe, and they refuse to pay. Now they're going to sue you. And so do you accept lesser than the amount that is owed?
So they file an appeal, the Board of County Commissioners upholds the value.
Right?
They have the option of now appealing to the Board of State Tax Appeals.
Okay.
I don't believe that they've done that. I believe they've leapfrogged into the lawsuit.
So they leapfrog into the lawsuit.
Okay.
So now you've gone to mediation, and is it your decision to accept less than what the tax value on the assessed value is that has been appealed and upheld by the Board of County Commissioners?
Well, that's an interesting question because I'm not the only one named in the lawsuit. So
I'm not asking that question.
Yeah.
I'm asking who agrees to accept lesser than the taxes paid on the assessed value.
it would be a combined decision of the commissioners and the assessor.
So now you're saying that you're going to assess a property, it's going to be appealed, it's going to be upheld by the Board of County Commissioners, and you go back to the property owners, and the property owners decide they don't want to pay it, so they threaten you with a lawsuit. Now, they've done
Well,
this.
they file the lawsuit, it's not
That's
a
fine.
threat.
That's fine. So they file a lawsuit, and this has been going on year after year after year. Now, the county has not set aside funds for legal fees for this.
And that's a problem.
It is a problem, and it's not the city's problem.
And I think citizens should be aware of that, and citizens should make their voices known to the commissioners, and it's the commissioners that need to appropriate the budget to fight the lawsuit.
What I would agree. So now you're coming to the city, you're telling us a piece of city-owned property, which is tax exempt, is no longer going to be tax exempt. You've already stated that you assess the value, the property, it's upheld, the value is appealed and upheld by the county commissioners. They then leapfrog over the state appeals or whatever that is and go directly to a lawsuit, which you do not have money to defend. So therefore, you will mediate and accept less than the amount owed. Is that correct?
That's the process.
Okay. So my question there is, how much is that? How much have you conceded? And I would assume that's more than the amount that you're going to want to collect from the city of Post Falls on a non-taxable piece of property that you now want to make taxable.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So the issue here is how does any of this benefit the taxpayers?
Well,
And it doesn't.
My concern is you address it in an incorrect form.
Well, I'm gonna fall on the sword for that one. I know Mr. Kovacs, and so he did reach out to me and say, how do I get something in front of the council? And I said, generally speaking, if somebody has something to put in front of the council, there is a open forum for citizen comments that you can bring something up, and that's, that is an option. So
That would be okay, and that's
that's
okay,
my
but I would accept that if it was a citizen issue. But this is a county issue. We work with the county on all sorts of different issues.
This is not a county issue. This is a combination county-city issue.
Fine.
It is the city issue with regard to the ownership of the parcel.
Fine. So
It is the county issue with regard to to lawsuits and the way the county does not appropriate the funding to defend the value.
It's a related county-city issue and should be handled in the proper channels. You should have your people talk to our staff. We could get it on a council agenda. We could have staffs work on it to resolve it. And I think that's a proper, I don't know what the purpose of springing it on us without letting staff or anybody else know about it. But to me, it's not good policy. It's not good practice. And I will anxiously await to see what the decision is when you opt to just take a piece of property owned by the city that is non-taxable and try to assess taxes on it. So I would just ask that our city attorneys be well aware of that, and I would ask that you possibly reach out, and I plan to reach out to the county commissioners.
Absolutely.
I would ask that you be aware of that and see what our legal standing would be. I just think, no offense, Joe, I'm not blaming you for it, but I think it should have been handled in a totally different manner, not at a public comment or citizen's comment in an open forum like this.
Fair enough.
And I do accept responsibility for that, because that's what I said.
It's all right. I still think it was improper, and I'm not casting blame. I just think that it's something that it's a county issue, city issue, and if it needs to be resolved, we should do it in the proper manner, and that's all I'm saying. Anybody else? Seeing none, next is administrative staff reports. First item is Parks and Urban Forestry Assessment Management. This is a big one. Forestry Asset Management and Computerized Maintenance Management Software Implementation Update.
No acronym? Don't we use
I know.
certificate
Would you
in
ask
acronym?
him for an acronym?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brian Myers, Parks Manager for the City of Post Falls. Hopefully this presentation is
slightly more brief than the title itself, but we'll give it a shot. So going to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit as to our parks operation and what we've been working on for the past 2 years in implementing a computerized maintenance management system, or CMMS. There's your acronym.
There it is.
And where we're headed with that as we start to build the muscle memory amongst staff to tracking the work we do on a routine basis. So this is kind of an overview of where we're headed with this. We'll start off with some general discussion of asset management and how that interplays with both the financial record and our daily operations. Dive into what our computerized maintenance management system is outputting after 2 years of installing records into that. And then kind of look into where we're hoping to head with this as we move forward with actually being able to predict life cycles and replacement costs and such of our parks assets. So to kick this off, a couple definitions. Asset management, it is the work we do to maintain the things that we own, that we are entrusted with managing on behalf of the citizens of Post Falls. So in parks, that is a lot of things underground, a number of green things, some vertical structures, restrooms, parking lots, wells, and the like. Strategic asset management is taking that management approach and really trying to look at how do we ensure that we are utilizing the dollars that we're entrusted with to ensure those assets are serving the public in their intended way for the least amount of inputs as possible, to the best judgment we can, and be able to adjust to financial realities and condition assessments that may happen over time. So with that, we start out with asset inventory. We have to know what we own. This process started in various iterations over the last 30 years. But as I came on 11 years ago, we dove into moving this into a GIS data later. And this is a picture of what Crown Point Park looks like and a little screenshot of what the overall table looks like that builds out all of that information. But generally, it shows what we own, where it's located, the GIS piece of that. We go out on a routine basis and assign a condition to that. And then we use the same numbers that you're using or that you see from us related to impact fees to assess a current value of that asset. And then we assign an expected life for that particular component. From there, we use that information to start to structure a maintenance management system. So this is our general work order system. And from here, you can see that over the last 2 years, we've completed 5,300 and some odd tasks. Generally, those are falling in line with our preventive maintenance side of the business, which is what we're aiming for. We're trying to build in that routine muscle memory of doing things when we expect to and not always putting out fires. So that 82% is one of those benchmarks that I'm looking at on a routine basis to see that we're doing maintenance and not just making repairs unexpected. On the general work order summary, this gives you kind of a sample of what's happening in each individual month, as you might expect. The early part of the year, we're a little lower in terms of number of things we're doing, and those hit a peak in and around the middle of the month. And it also shows just kind of a utilization of number of work order hours on PMs versus reactive work. We tend to hit a little more into the reactive work later in the season, and you also will see here in 2024, we didn't have our system built out as much, so there's more reactive work in the late part of 2024, which we would expect. Big thing here is these are the dashboards that we get to look at from a staff perspective to be able to monitor staff performance and ensure that we're conducting the proper things at the proper time. On the back end, we can start to pull some summary level data, and This one often is a little bit surprising because when you think of parks, you think of the green assets, the green infrastructure that most of our public is out there to enjoy. But the majority of our labor cost is actually delivered to maintain the building and grounds, the assets, the parking lot assets, the trail assets, restroom facilities, a lot of custodial functions, if you will. And second to that, we have the arboricultural and turf grass functions. We also have, over that first year, we had a fair bit of planning and clerical labor that went into standing up this program. And given that, we had the folks that are used to filling out paperwork, tracking those things in the system a little more readily than maybe some of the field staff were early on.
So we would expect that number to go down?
We will expect that year over year to go down on the planning and clerical side because we have the preventative maintenance routines structure built out, and now it is basically automated until we decide to make a change. So now into the reporting and capital predictor tool. So this is a tool that the software that we're utilizing has as an add-on to the overall software. And this one is going to be where we start to actually leverage the information that's being put into the system itself to be able to show us our overall life cycle and begin to predict how much reinvestment we're going to need as we start to see those life cycles start to approach their end of life. Overall, this is the cycle of things that exist in the world. We start off with a great idea, a new project, and we deliver it. And the public gets to use it. From the staff perspective, we then implement a maintenance program, installing the different operations that are necessary to ensure that serves the public in the way that it was intended, and hopefully extend some life. That may be, if you take an example of, say, your vehicle. You buy a new vehicle, you can drive it till the wheels fall off, not doing any maintenance, never changing an oil, doing an oil change, never greasing bearings and bushings, and it's going to have a rather short life, and you're going to be buying a new car in 30 or 40,000 miles. That maintenance program is intended to extend that life. So those are those preventative maintenance tasks, the PMs as we call them. Eventually, all of those PMs, everything you do to extend that life, it hits a tipping point, and you're looking at capital renewal. So that's really what we're looking at with this capital predictor tool that we're looking to overlay. This is the general outline of how you go about this, and we're nearing the midpoint of implementation to be able to build out this full asset recovery model. And the next touch points are going to be where we're optimizing that capital investment. That's going to be the next major touch point with council that we'd work through in a workshop type setting and through Park and Rec master planning in that level. Where we're working with our Park and Rec Commission is setting that target level of service and really flushing out staff's perspective of that level of service with what our appointed board expects of staff and the facilities. And redefining that in a way that hopefully is a little bit more transparent and coherent across all parties. The determining business criticality, that looks like a couple of different things. You know, criticality overall to city government function, that's debated at different levels, but it also has criticality to revenue, the ability for that facility to create revenue. And can it continue to operate from the public standpoint to provide the general revenue pieces that for programming and otherwise that help offset some of the general fund burdens of our parks facilities. So kind of has a two-tailed piece of criticality that both Park and Rec Commission and yourselves weigh in on, particularly at the time of master planning and developing our overall master plan for the department. Staff really is involved in this optimization piece. So once we have that level of service and we understand the business criticality, we can then begin to optimize our operations and maintenance and forego certain maintenance tasks and try to reduce some spending where possible to ensure that we're being judicious with tax funds. So And then the determining funding strategy, everything's got a dollar figure to it. How are we going to approach that? How are we going to ensure that our public's well-served long after I'm gone? That's my ultimate goal in this role, is ensuring that we're looking out and planting some shade for the next generations of post-fold residents. So that's the overall picture of where we're at and where we're headed. And this next slide shows what that overall model may look like. This was an overall operations, and what the goal is to try to even those investments over time, so that we're not coming to you asking for a remodel of an entire park one year and then very little the next, right? So it becomes a more expected piece of our general operating budget, something that we can begin to predict. So that's the overall goal where we're headed. There's a lot that goes into it. I skipped this slide because I dialogued through it as we were going. But with that, I'd stand for any questions you may
Brian.
have.
Do other cities in the county use this program? Or have you seen anyone locally do this?
Locally, there's not a lot going on this front.
Okay.
We're leading at this level.
Cool.
So I've presented to our state association on the asset inventory side 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and City of Missoula was doing something very similar, kind of was able to provide some insight into some challenges that we may be seeing, and we've lived through some of those challenges and navigated through them behind the scenes. But you know, we're in a good spot. I'm happy with the muscle memory we're getting in delivering those work management structures and such. And in many ways, I wish Daniel were here, because he's the one that's been leading the operations and maintenance side for the parks team, and Preston on the urban forestry side, to really get the staff bought into providing this data that we can then leverage to the ongoing operation. We still have some ways to go to have it performing at the level that I want, but 2 years in, we've navigated quite a bit.
Kudos to your staff that is now filling out forms that they didn't used to, because I am hard pressed at work to literally fill out anything new that I didn't 10 years ago. So, yeah.
It did help that it's on a tablet, so.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
It is digitized and somewhat helpful. We're not
Thanks, Brian.
wading through paper.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, recovery of withheld taxpayer funds. Yay. Field.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Field Harrington, City Attorney. When I put this staff report together, I didn't realize that I would be following a county representative to tout how the city was right and the county was wrong, but here we are.
And I didn't want to mention that.
A little bit of background for those who don't know. In July 2022, almost 3 years ago, Kootenai County Treasurer Matheson announced that in October 2022 that the county would start to withhold late charges and interest on delinquent property taxes. That unilateral action contradicted a long-standing practice, and basically the cities were the largest affected. However, school districts, fire districts, highway districts were also affected. The county withholding amount amounted to about $500,000 annually across all the taxing districts. For Post Falls specifically, in that sort of 2.5 year period, the county withheld nearly $126,000 in principal from our taxpayers' delinquent payments. The cities, so the city of Post Falls and the city of Coeur d'Alene, along with the highway districts, sent a letter to the county trying to explain, hey, you really shouldn't do this because it's contrary to the code. The county wouldn't change course and basically said, we'll wait until a judge tells us otherwise. So the cities and the highway districts did pursue judicial action. We took it to the district court. Well, two separate cases. They were combined into one. We went to the district court. The district court found in favor of the taxing districts, finding it to be clear that Idaho Code requires that penalties, interests, and costs be apportioned and not kept to the county, or kept by the county. Judge Christensen stated in his opinion that the county is required to distribute the taxing districts their proportionate share of the interest, costs, and fees collected in delinquent taxes levied on behalf of the taxing districts. We went to the county and we said, there's your judicial guidance. The county said, we don't like that judicial guidance, and they appealed it to the Supreme Court. So we argued it at the Supreme Court, and the court unanimously affirmed the district court's decision that the county must distribute the penalties and interest from the delinquent property taxes to the taxing districts. Some kind of key points from the Supreme Court. They did emphasize that the language was clear and plain on its face, and that there was no ambiguity. They reaffirmed some previous holdings that counties are merely acting as our agent, as our tax collector when they collect these funds on our behalf. And they are able to recover their collection costs. There's a portion in the code that allows them to recover their collection costs, but they actually have to properly adopt those costs in order to collect them. And then we also were awarded, both at the district court and at the Supreme Court level, our attorney's fees and costs in pursuing this. So, implications for us, validation. We were correct in our initial analysis. We defended the taxpayers' dollars against the unlawful county policy. As far as financial relief, we have recovered to date at this point. We have recovered the $126,000 in principal, along with about $20,000 in pre-judgment, post-judgment interest, for a total of about $147,000. Also, the monthly distributions that they were doing before October 2022, those have now resumed as well. So we are getting those monthly tranches as the county collects the delinquencies. The opinion, and just to know that the opinion noted that counties, if they feel disadvantaged, that they need to pursue legislation. That's always been sort of on the horizon, that the counties would try to get the code changed. And so we may have a push for that in the next legislative session.
How about legal fees?
We were awarded all of our attorneys.
Were they included in those numbers?
They are not included in those numbers. At the district court level, it was a flat fee agreement shared between the city of Post Falls and the city of Coeur d'Alene for about $15,000 plus costs. So there was about $20,000 plus interest. So the interest starts accruing once the district court judgment is entered. So we got some interest on that as well. And then the Supreme Court defense costs were in the neighborhood of $42,000, I believe. So we recovered that as well.
You know, so it sounds good. We got all of our withheld monies plus interest plus legal fees, and unfortunately, it's taxpayers pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's a win, but not really.
So we'll get that 147 in like a monthly distribution?
No, we've already gotten it. We've received
And where did it
all
go?
of that.
It just went to the general fund?
It goes to the general fund.
Does
Yep.
it? Do
It's
we-
tax funds. It's
Have a place to put it in the budget? Are we looking to,
it would likely come with a budget amendment, but right now it's probably just sort of that
Fund balance.
fund balance.
okay, thanks.
Thank you. That is good news. Like I say, it's good news for us, but taxpayers didn't win. Next up, Park and Recreation Director Recruitment Update.
Dave won't look me in the eye. Good evening. On June 17th, I was before you giving you an update on the Park and Rec Director recruitment process. And we thought that we would be back to you by now with a potential recommendation. As all of these things happen, it takes longer to get people's schedules together to do interviews. And so we're actually going to be interviewing the end of this week. So we will try to be back to you at the next council meeting or the following council meeting with a recommendation. We do have 3 external candidates and 1 internal candidate that we'll be interviewing at the end of this week. Just wanted to give you a quick update in case you had questions. I didn't want to just email you because I didn't want any open meeting laws being broken or anything. So if you have any questions for
The
me.
intent will be to bring back a recommendation.
I'm sorry, what?
Will the plan be to bring back a recommendation?
Yes,
after the
we'd come to
interviews?
executive session to the council with a recommendation and conversation about the final candidate.
And the consultants talked with people, did the interviews, and then narrowed it down to 4, is that correct?
That's correct. And so right now, everything is still confidential. They own all the documents. So we're not releasing any names at this point.
Any questions?
Is there any danger that we have a vacant seat if the hiring isn't done quickly enough? Or maybe we're assuming that it's just going to get done in time.
So Dave is with us till the first week of January, and he has told us that he can stay longer if needed, although there is a potential Australian vacation in there somewhere. So our target date was to have somebody on board sometime in November. And that likely could, depending upon if it's internal or external, that date could possibly be pushed out till December if somebody were moving.
Okay.
So.
What type of information will the council have to review or to talk to the recommended candidate or more than one candidate? Should we be allowed to?
So you would have the full application from the candidate that we're recommending and all their information.
And then we would have the opportunity to speak with them before we voted on their recommendation in some way?
I will look to legal on that one. Would we?
So right now, I believe the process that was put forth to council in going with the consultant firm and going through that sort of recruitment process, that we would be presenting a final candidate, but I'd have to go back and look at what was approved by council for that.
But we would get information, council will get information prior to
Yes.
the job being offered. I think if you have questions, you can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the executive session is to have a conversation about the final candidate.
But we will receive their packet prior to that
Yes.
conversation.
Yes.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Next item up, mayor and council comments. Very frequently I ask people to drive safe, especially with kids out and around. We were out walking our dog this morning, and a very sweet lady went blowing through a crosswalk because she was defrosting her mirror or her window. Yeah. And the old guy here was able to jump out of the way, and she felt terrible, and I hold no ill feelings towards her. But it just happens, it just happens, and people get distracted. So just once again, please drive safe, especially with Halloween coming up and all the little darlings running around in costumes that they can't see out of. Be careful, especially in school zones. So, council comments.
I would just like to make a statement that I think it's really unfortunate that in the situation of the penalty and interest case, and now with another pseudo-citizen issue presentation of an issue that should have been handled more professionally in private. I just think it's really unfortunate that the county has chosen such an adversarial and combative way to deal with these types of issues. As we have reiterated many times, they end up being paid for by the taxpayers of the county and our city. So I'm just really disappointed in how that went tonight.
Yeah, agreed. Anybody else? We do need executive with one adjustment.
Yes. About how long?
Maybe 10, 15 minutes. Let's call it 15.
All right. I move to enter an executive session pursuant to Idaho Codes 74-206B to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, or staff member, and 74-206D to consider the records that are exempt from disclosure as provided in Chapter 1, Title 74 Idaho Code. Further, that no action will be taken during the session. The session will last approximately 15 minutes.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. Roll call, please.
Davis.
Aye.
Plou.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Ziegler.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Sigleader.
Aye.
We'll enter executive. Call the meeting back to order. Are there any motions to come forward?
I move to approve the confidential agreement and waiver discussed in executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Plou.
Aye.
Westland.
Aye.
Ziegler.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Stigliter.
No.
Davis.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next motion is?
Adjourned.
Adjourned.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.